Hello, I'm Caitlin, and today I'm going to be talking about it is a life-changing event that happened to me. And the way I'm going to order this story is I'm going to begin with the actual day, because there's so many little pieces that I don't know how to tie in perfectly, so it was Saturday, October 14th, 2017, and that day I remember I had work, so I think I started at I was still cashiering at a grocery store. And I started at 8 or something, and then I went on break, or, around lunchtime. And usually sometimes I go home, and sometimes I don't. So I went home, started eating rotisserie chicken, I remember. It was pretty good. I haven't had it in a while. And then I get this text saying, "Did you hear about what happened to insert name?" And I'm like, no. I just thought he had broken a bone, or maybe he got into a serious accident or something. And if you don't know, this is my ex. And then I run upstairs in my bed because that's what I just want to be away from everybody, because my heart dropped at first. And then I kept getting messages, and they're like, he died. And I remember just everything being flushed out of me, my skin tone was as pale as the freaking moonlight. It was just, all I remember is feeling nothing in my stomach and just feeling a sense of being nervous, and it was unreal to me because at the time I still had a crush on him. The thing is, he was 3 years younger than me. I was a senior, he was a freshman, and we dated for a little over 3 months. It was a great time. I knew him for a little longer than that. But so I kind of still liked him when he died, so it was outrageous. It's outrageous to even believe, so that's the scenario of what happened. So then, when I hear about the news, I just didn't want my parents to see me crying. And first of all, I didn't start bawling right away. I was in shock for a while. And I didn't want my parents to be around when I did that, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to work. And I pretended that everything was okay. And I drove to work, and then I drove there, and then I just walked in and I start bawling my eyes out. And I go right to my supervisor and I tell her what happened. And she's like, "Do you need me to drive you home or anything?" And I'm like, "No, I can do it." Because since it's such a traumatic incident, that I remembered all these little details. I'm like, no, because I wanted to be alone crying. I didn't want someone else bringing me home or anything like that. But it was really nice of her to offer that. Got a hug or something. Then I drove. It was really difficult. It was pouring that day. It was raining that day. Ugh. It was the gloomiest day ever. And I went to this little spot. We have our main street, and then a little corner for industrial area. I went in the little parking lot over there and just sobbed my eyes out. I just couldn't stop. And I just kept going. I don't know how long, because honestly I just remember thinking about everything and just ugh. And so after all of that little ordeal, I went home and I had to tell my parents because they were going to find out. I told my mom what happened, and I just ran into her arms, and she just hugged me, and I just cried in her arms for hours and hours. And this happened for a few days after it happened, I believe. I don't know. But I remember she was just being a huge support because her father passed when she was younger. And so she has kind of an experience with that. But she was so there for me. She was just hugging me. She was holding me, and that's all I needed was to cry and to be hugging and be held by someone. That's all I needed at that moment, because there's nothing else. You can't fix that situation, really. And how he died, that actually probably hurt the most, because it's even so, knowing how much pain he was in, it was suicide. I'm not going to go into the details, of course, that's fucked up, but just knowing that even makes it 100 times worse. If it was an accident, yes, it would be so bad, terrible. But the fact that he did it on purpose, knowing that he was somewhere in his mind where he felt he couldn't escape. And then I think back about our relationship and all the things we've talked about, and I distinctively, which is so I distinctively remember talking to him and being like, I'm scared of death, and I told him that, and he's just like, he's so reassuring. He's like, I'm not afraid of death. He's just like talking like it's all blasé, and I guess he really wasn't afraid. And then that hurt. And then like one time I mentioned that I had like depression, and then like my sophomore year and stuff, and then he's like, you had depression. Like he was surprised and like almost felt like he said that like, wow, you have that too. And like I remember messaging him, I don't know how long before he died, but I don't know, but I'm like, are you good? Like, I just wanted to check up on him because that's what I do. He's like, yeah. You? Yeah. And so those are just kind of the little thoughts I take away. I'm like, all of these things happened, and then I think those were the warning signs. Why didn't I wasn't close to him when this happened, because 2017 that school 2017 2018 I had already graduated in 2017, so it was the fall of 2017 in October, and so I was done my gap year because I took gap year before I started college this year, freshman. So I wasn't even at school. So it was like a completely different experience for me because I was like alone, and everyone else had the comfort of their classmates, and like I wasn't there at the school. I don't know what was going on there, but my principal's so supportive. He's like, you can come in whenever you need. We're here for you. There's guidance counselors. It is right now April 3rd, 2019. So it's like it'll be 2 years in October. And it's April right now, it'll be 2 years in October, and obviously the incident it's recent, but I've had time to like think. I've had time to process everything. And yes, I've come to terms with what happened because it happened. You can't do anything about it, but I always know that I have him with wherever I go in my mind, so like he's not dead to me. And I know people say that in real life, they're like, you're dead to me. I just don't talk to them. So this is kind of like the same thing, but he's not dead to me. I have him in my mind. And I mean, it's odd because I wasn't dating him when he died, but I still feel I had that like intimacy with him that made the situation all that more surreal. Yeah, it was. I remember the day of the wake, I had a great support team, like a whole bunch of girls that were around the same age. We went to the wake and I just didn't want to leave. And I had so many questions, like I didn't want to be selfish and be like, did he think this of me? Did he think that of me? But in my head, I care about what he thinks or what he thought. And then the actual funeral, I don't really have to go in depth and tell you that I was sobbing, but I was. I didn't want it to be the end, and I didn't want to leave. I was hoping like that last little bit of chance that he could just pop up alive. And I don't know if I'm the only one that's ever had that experience where it's like you're somewhere and you see the finality of it and everything, and you're like, maybe it's not real, but it was, and it's so real, and it's hurts my every inch, like, but I've grown from there. So I feel like that incident has changed me for the better. I don't think he would want to wreck a whole bunch of people's lives. No, that's why he ended his, because he felt he was a burden, but he wasn't to me. I remember the last time I hugged him. And remember the last few times I saw him, because I did help with tennis my gap year, so I would help out, and that was in like September, early October. So I did see him then, and he did look like, when I think back about it, he was like, his head was down, and he was like, I'm thinking about all these signs. And when it comes down to it, so many things played a role in why he did it. It's not one person's fault. And what I didn't like was at the funeral how the pastor or whatever, he was like, we should be ashamed of ourselves for not catching it but it's so difficult, and you can be there, you can be that support system, and it's still, despite how hard you try, it doesn't work. And it's such a complex whole topic that it's kind of rude just to blame all the surviving people who are hurting in pain. So I didn't really like that. I felt like that was kind of off-putting. Like, don't say that. I would have totally been there if I had known what was going on. If I had known. I was sort of there for his friends. I talked to his friends, just checked up on them for a while after the incident, and I have a candle from the lighting ceremony, and I have a picture with like chocolate on it because I remember there's treats afterwards. And that's the thing, I can't eat when I'm like grieving like that, like when I'm in that kind of situation, nervous, grieving, that kind of anxious situation. I'm not gonna eat. So like, although there were desserts, I'm like, it didn't taste good to me and I wasn't hungry. And so I just stayed to myself. I remember those days were so difficult. Just the first few days after and the first few weeks after. I know that it took like months and months for me to actually believe it. Like, I believed it, but it's so difficult to put into words. But it did take me that full year to feel like I am okay. I'm not moved past it, but you kind of have to move past it to keep going with your life. So it did take me a full year, I feel like, to go through the whole process. And that's just for somebody that I did for like a little over 3 months. So I don't even want to imagine what it would be like with someone that I've known so much longer. And it's not the length of time you've known someone, it's the quality. And I really liked him. But yeah, he's that son right there. But I hope you guys got something from this video. This is my experience on a friend and their mental health story and what it led to. And it is Mental Health Awareness Week at our school. For my college, I don't know if it's for everywhere, but be aware. It's serious, it's real, it's needs to be noticed, and I know it's getting better, and I know that all of that, but it needs to keep getting better, and I encourage everyone to just have a little hand out there for someone in need. Okay, bye.